What's going on, Michigan fans? Clayton Sayfie here with EJ Holland. We are from the Wolverine.com. Use the promo code Blue60 over at the Wolverine.com right now. You get 2 months of our premium content, insider intel for free. So check us out, promo code Blue60. But EJ, signing day has come and went a couple weeks ago. But, as now we start to reflect on the signing class, at least for the early period. Obviously, Michigan has some targets to go after in the late period. But in the early period, you reflect on what Michigan's getting in these 20 guys. And so we'll kind of go down the line and do some superlatives here. So let's start with the best signee. And then we will get to biggest sleeper, most athletic, most potential, fastest man, strongest man, future team captain. And then we'll choose a assistant coach for the best recruiter on the staff in this cycle. But we'll start with the best recruit overall. Who is your name for that one?
Well, I think most people would say JJ McCarthy. I think some could also make the argument for Donovan Edwards. But the highest graded signee on my list, I did, how I would rank the commits. And obviously, I saw every single commit in person in at least one setting and watched film and kind of gave them a grade and wrote a quick paragraph on why I had them. And when I did those stories and I did breakdowns of every recruit in the class, my highest graded was Rivals 100 linebacker Junior Colson. I think he is a guy that gets talked about a lot, but he's not necessarily considered in the same category as maybe McCarthy or Edwards. Look, Junior, in my opinion, is a 5-star level linebacker. That's where I have him graded at. When you look at Junior, he has so much potential. You have to keep in mind that he's originally from Haiti, so he didn't, he had to have a learning curve with football. On top of that, he's only been playing the linebacker position for 3 years. He started as a sophomore. He was actually a converted wide receiver. So his upside is tremendous. On top of the fact that he's so far along already, this is a guy that recorded 175 tackles as a junior, 15 sacks. This year, he played with a minor shoulder injury and still had 101 tackles in 8 games. So Junior is a tackling machine. He can play all the linebacker spots. Like I said, he's extremely athletic. Being a converted wide receiver, he's so fast for his size, extremely fluid, does well in coverage, can come off the edge. Like I said, he's recorded about 23 sacks over the last 2 years. So he can play any of the linebacker spots. Obviously, Michigan's going to transition into a new defensive scheme. Prior to the dismissal of Don Brown, Jr. was a candidate to play the Viper spot, but also could play any of those linebacker spots. Honestly, whoever takes over as defensive coordinator at Michigan is going to have a fun time with Jr. And I think he's going to make an immediate impact. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field as a true freshman. He has everything you want in that linebacker position at 6'2", 225. He has a tremendous build, literally runs in the high 4.5s. So, I mean, this is a guy that's fast, big, athletic, a tank, and just is extremely physical and a tackling machine. So I have Junior as the highest graded recruit in the class.
Okay. I would just say JJ for me just because of the position he plays and how important having a quarterback is. And when you have a guy that good, I think he's going to be that important to this program and probably, but at the same time, there are some top-rated guys like that, like Junior Colson. Xavier Worthy might be the most dynamic guy in the class if we wanted to add a superlative. So there's some names at the top there. And then Donovan Edwards. I mean, he could be a guy that carries the ball a ton for 4 years for Michigan, and we could look back and say this is going to be, this was the best guy in that class. So obviously it'll all be told on the field, but heading in, some pretty good options at the top there. So Junior Colson, your pick. And then biggest sleeper, a guy that people don't talk about much who, will end up being a highly productive player at Michigan. I think I know who you're going to go with here, but I'm interested to see if I'm correct.
Yeah, I really love Jaden McBurrows here. I think he's a guy that can play above his ranking. I have him graded as a low 4-star. Everywhere else has him as a high 3. But the biggest difference in rating when I did my own personal rankings was TJ Guy. He's rated as a 5.5, low 3-star on Rivals. Same on the other site. I feel like TJ Guy is a low 4-star prospect. That's what I have him graded as. When you look at recruiting, oftentimes you have to look at projection. And TJ Guy, while still raw, while on film, there's still a lot to like about him on film, but there's still a lot of question marks, a lot to be desired when you look at that film. But when you go out and you see him in person, I saw TJ at 2 private workouts. You just are so astonished with the athletic potential there. This is a kid that's 6'5", 245 pounds, has only been focused on football for a few years. He runs the point guard for his basketball team at that size. Got offers from lower level schools for hoops. And the best years for TJ are still ahead of him. Is he going to need a redshirt year? Yeah, probably another year, maybe 2 after that. But he's a guy that could turn into a monster. You could easily see him add 20, 30 pounds, be a 6'4", 275, 5 technique that could also slide inside. He has a lot of versatility along the defensive line. To be that size and to be that athletic, I think, speaks volumes of his potential and his ability, regardless if he, isn't as far along as some of the other guys in the class, or some of the other defensive linemen committed to schools elsewhere. He has some of the biggest upside. Now, he also has a low floor. We could see TJ not get developed at the next level. But if I had to bet, I would say TJ does get developed because he's also a really smart kid, a guy that can pick up things quickly and has picked up things quickly on the football field. Like I said, he's a converted basketball player. So, I mean, you just can't teach that athleticism at that size. And TJ moves so well for how big he is. So I think TJ Guy is the prospect that's going to turn some heads, maybe later down the line.
That's what I thought you were going to go with, and just for me, from the standpoint of watching clips and watching highlights of him, obviously haven't seen him in person like you have. He would be my pick as well, and for Michigan fans that were fond of a guy who really dominated at Michigan, was all Big Ten guy, Chris Wormley, a few years ago. Watching some of the clips, it feels like he has a similar style and a similar body type to him, and his ability to play strong side D end and then sometimes slide in as well. So it kind of feels like a perfect fit there. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Chris Wormley, but in terms of a sleeper, he's a guy that could be super productive and probably, will have a good career at Michigan. Like you said, whether that's 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in, we will see, and that remains to be seen. Let's go to most athletic guy. Is it the Flash? Is it Xavier Worthy, or is there another name out there who's most athletic? You could go Tristan Bounds, who's a freak athlete from the offensive line position. Who you got for best athlete?
Actually, neither of those. I'm going Andre Anthony. He is, a guy that has been talking to Juwan Howard about playing hoops. So I think he's the most athletic in terms of a guy that is also a star at another sport. I mean, he could have played D1 basketball had he focused on basketball. He can jump out of the gym. Excellent catch radius, a guy that can line up in the slot or on the outside. He reminds me of probably an NFL player that not a lot of people know, but Kendrick Bourne of the San Francisco 49ers. He's really long, and he can, like I said, jump out of the gym. He can play in the slot. He can line up outside. He's not a super productive NFL player, but Andrell's just a 3-star prospect as well. So giving him that kind of comparison, I think, is fair. He might not be, again, the most highly rated, but when we're talking about pure athleticism, a guy that can, beat anybody else in this class on the hardwood, I think you have to go with Andre Anthony.
Okay, I'd go with the Flash just because of the change of direction, how quick he is. But yeah, Andrell being a guy that could play, at least D1 college basketball, it'll be interesting. And, they'll probably have some open gyms or whatever, just pick up games when they all get to Michigan, and he'll probably be the guy, kind of dominating out there when they do that. Most potential, similar to, biggest sleeper, but the guy who maybe could make the biggest jump, I guess, and has the, potential to be a super, super productive player at Michigan. Who do you have here?
I think this one's easy. Tristan Bounds. I mean, he's all of 6'8", 300 pounds, and he still has room to add some weight. I mean, this is a mammoth of a human being. I mean, when we were out at the big visit weekend, all the recruits were talking about, man, Tristan is so big. Everything about him is big. He has huge hands, just thick legs, a guy that's just built really wide. And like I said, he has the potential to add a lot of weight too. He's still athletic. He played basketball in the AAU circuit. So I think Tristan Bounds has the most potential. He has the height that Ed Warner desires in left tackles. He has the frame to add weight, and he plays mean, which is something that, again, Ed Warner really looks for in his left tackles. It's not all about pass blocking. It's about guys that can excel in run blocking and want to be physical and want to bury people. And that's Tristan Bounds. So I think Tristan's clearly the number one candidate for that
Yeah,
category.
yeah, that's a great pick. I'll go with that too. What's his ceiling? All American type potential. If not saying that that's even likely, but if he does end up being the guy who Ed Warner feels he can be, is that All American potential at the tackle spot for Tristan Bounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tristan Bounds is going to need some time to develop. Every left tackle that Ed Warner takes is going to need a lot of development, just because he likes height at the position and he likes lanky frames. So you saw it with Jeff Percy, see it with Tristan Bounds this cycle. Next cycle, they got their guy in Connor Jones. So it's going to take some time. But yeah, I do think that Tristan Bounds brings that type of potential.
Yeah, he'll be fun to just see how he develops because, like we said, he's in the he has a case to make for even best athlete to a degree as a big guy an offensive lineman. So the next superlative would be fastest man. I think I know that I'll go with Xavier Worthy here. Obviously, his nickname's the Flash. I don't know who gave him that, but it seems pretty fitting based on everything I've seen on him. Kid is extremely fast. 10.55, 100-meter as a sophomore in high school, and didn't get to run this past year and then this season because of the pandemic. But incredible, and I wonder exactly how much faster he's gotten because I'm sure he's improved his speed quite a bit since he's been timed last.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Worthy's the easy candidate. I don't think any other recruit in this class is even close as far as his speed. Like you said, 10.55 in the 100 as a sophomore, was only one of two, I believe, sophomores to make it to the California state track meet. Obviously, California is extremely competitive in a large state. So to make that as a sophomore, I think tells you a lot about his speed, can run in the 4.3s. Shows it on tape, not only straight line, but having some wiggle. Has been compared to Deshaun Jackson. If you watched some of the Eagles Cowboys game yesterday, you saw Deshaun Jackson's speed on full display. So I think Xavier Worthy is that type of kid. He has a sprinter build in terms of having a small torso and extremely long legs. He is a guy that's going to be the mold of the speed in space offense at Michigan.
Yeah, easy one there. Strongest man. Um, I don't have. I mean, these kids better than me. I don't have a pick right away. Is it Tristan Bounds or is there somebody I'm just totally overlooking? And who's the strongest guy in this class?
Well, normally you would go with an offensive lineman, right? Like, is this the strongest man? Like last year, it was easy with Zach Zinter.
Right.
Like, obviously, he was the strongest man. Like, you could clearly see it
He's
on
one of the
tape
strongest guys on the team probably right now. Yeah.
already, right? Yeah. So I think you could make the argument for Raheem Anderson, who's a bully in the interior of the offensive line. You could even make an argument for Dominic Giudice, the lowest rated kid in the class, but he's a strong, old school Italian player. But I'm going to go a different route because I don't think there's a clear strongest man. I'm going Donovan Edwards. If you watch his tape, I mean, he runs over people. His stiff arm is outstanding. I mean, he puts his hand out and kids fly away. So I'm going to say Donovan Edwards. I mean, he has a great build at about 5'11 and a half, uh, almost 200 pounds. Don told me he's up to about 197 is what he's weighing in at right now. So he has a compact build, and the way he just runs over people really catches your attention. Yeah, he can run around guys, and there are clips where he's clearly better than the competition, and he showboats around. But when he has to play good competition, I mean, this is a guy that relies on his power. And when I saw him against Stevenson here as a senior, he just absolutely demolished kids. And Stevenson was supposed to have a really good defense. He scored 6 touchdowns. A couple of those, he just threw kids away in the end zone with some stiff arms. So I'm going with Donovan Edwards. I mean, that power in a back to go along with some really good speed is rare, and what makes him a special back.
I like that pick, and I saw him a few times, and I don't think I've seen somebody rush for 1 yard touchdowns more than him.
Yeah,
They just line him up in the
feels like a
Wildcat.
20-yard TD.
Right. They line him up in the Wildcat. He wouldn't be in the Wildcat until it's like third or fourth down, and then they're like, all right, just score. Like, I mean, we were trying to get maybe somebody else a touchdown, or maybe a touchdown out of the shotgun, out of just a running back, regular formation. We just need the 6 points. Don, like, just run it in, and that's basically what he would do. And then you've likened him to Aaron Jones, and I think we've brought this up quite a bit, and in just the controversy of that type of comparison, because people are like, oh, that's not the flashiest thing in the world. But the fact of what Aaron Jones is and what Donovan Edwards is a guy that when it's blocked for 3-4 yards, he has 6 or 7 because of the fact that he's falling forward. So pound for pound, he probably is the strongest guy in that class out of these 20 guys. So yeah, I like that. Not the obvious one there, but I do like that one. I'll take that as well. Future team captain. This, I mean, I think the obvious choice would be J.J. McCarthy. Do you have anything different than that? I mean, this is a kid that's kept this entire class together, has been the vocal ringleader. And basically, yeah, like I said, I mean, there's been turmoil, there's been uncertainty and everything, but JJ's kind of been the one constant and continues to bring guys in the fold. Donovan Edwards said, one of the reasons why he picked Michigan is because he's excited to play with J.J. McCarthy, and because J.J. McCarthy has recruited him. Are you just going with the obvious choice here, and what's your pick?
Yeah, JJ's the obvious choice. I mean, you kind of laid it up for me. He was instrumental in helping, not only bring guys in like Donovan Edwards, but keeping the class together and weathering the storm of all the negative publicity surrounding Michigan this fall. JJ has a magnetic personality. He's a kid that I've never heard any single person say a bad word about JJ. When I've gone to his workouts here in Chicago, all the younger kids really look up to him. He stays on the field after games to take photos with little kids. He does everything you want a quarterback to do. From a person, you don't want to make comparisons to Tom Brady, obviously, but from a personality standpoint, JJ has a lot of what Tom is. Like, he's kind of, I don't know. Tom Brady's like cool, but kind of a little weird cool. Like he has his little things that make him cool. That's the same
Like, if you
as
asked
Jake.
Tom Brady about like strawberries, like he doesn't eat strawberries, he would give you like a weird ass answer. But yeah, he's like cool and he can still be boys with everybody. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so I think JJ's going to bring that to the locker room, and like I said, he commands the respect of everybody. And even when I went out to see him in Dallas earlier this fall, when IMG took on fellow powerhouse Duncanville, I asked several of his teammates, "What is it like playing with JJ?" And they'd only been around him for a couple of months, since IMG's a boarding school and they have move-ins from across the country. And all the kids I asked, just their eyes lit up when talking about JJ. I did a story on Thanksgiving about the 2021 class being thankful for JJ, and everybody gave tremendous quotes. So JJ's going to command that locker room. He's going to be kind of the leader as soon as he steps foot on campus, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him win the starting job as a true freshman. Just to give some other guys some shout outs, I think Giovanni El Hadi can be a team captain. I think Raheem Anderson can be a future team captain as well. I think both of those guys really, once they committed to Michigan, they were 100% Michigan Wolverines. So they recruited other guys. They did whatever it took to help make the program better on the recruiting trail. So I think, when you look at future team captains, those guys will also be in the running for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it is funny. JJ is just clearly kind of the overarching guy there. When we had guys come in, actually swing through our office, and you can see some of the videos obviously on this YouTube channel if you haven't checked them out. On that visit weekend, you had asked kids like, "Hey, who's the kid that you kind of became closer with, or thought was cool, or like whatever," and they were like, "Oh, JJ had to be JJ," and then Tristan Bounds was getting some love there too because I think him being isolated maybe a little bit more on the East Coast or whatever, people hadn't met him in person and they figured out he's got a cool personality. So yeah, definitely JJ McCarthy there. But yeah, they have some candidates in this class to be team leaders, to be captains going forward. And then best recruiter on the staff from a coaching staff standpoint. And this kind of ties in, like you could say JJ McCarthy was almost the best recruiter, but from a staff perspective, again, I think I know who you're going to go with here, but there's been some good ones. There's been some gems when you look at what they've done with this class. You could go with Josh Gaddis for his ability to pull Xavier Worthy out of there in California, and some other guys, Christian Dixon as well. You could go with Ed Warner because he just continually puts together solid offensive line class after solid offensive line class. But Sharon Moore, I think, is your pick here, and he's just been an incredible recruiter. He's probably been involved with 75-80% of these guys' recruitments, and you can't say enough of just about how much he connects with them, how much they want to play for him, they want to be with him in that building.
Yeah, Sherrone Moore is the easy choice here. When you look at his position recruiting, obviously, Michigan only took one tight end this cycle, a really good one, rivals 100 tight end Lewis Hanson. But Moore was involved with just about every skill position this cycle. He is a guy that was even involved with recruits on the defensive side of the ball. Anybody that is a top of the board tier one guy for Michigan has Coach Moore involved in some type of way. He has a great personality. He knows how to connect with kids. He knows how to connect with parents. He's extremely honest and genuine. He's a family guy. He even had his newborn kid on some of the Zoom calls and everything. So I just think when you look at pure recruiters, Sharon Moore definitely gets the nod. I mean, obviously Ed Warner is a great coach, and he brought in four-star offensive linemen. Like you said, Josh Gaddis is a key reason Michigan brought in the two California receivers in Dixon and Worthy. But Sharon Moore, I think Michigan answers this question on its own, because when it comes to landing a big-time guy, Moore is going to be involved. I mean, Donovan Edwards started, mentioning more and more and more as the cycle went on. So I feel like Moore is just, a dynamic recruiter and probably the best on staff.
Yeah, and I will say this: Michigan needs to do everything they can to keep a guy like him. Not only does he seem to be a good developer at the tight end position, but sometimes a guy that can just recruit is valuable on your staff, and you just plug him somewhere. Obviously, he's doing a good job, I think, with the tight ends, but he's been an absolute gem for Michigan on the recruiting trail. Those are our signing day superlatives for Michigan football signing classes. We look back on what they did a couple weeks ago, inking what is currently rated as the number 11 class in the country. Kind of bounces back and forth between 11 and 12 as you get some movement there, but sitting at 11, so a really good job from everybody all around, including Sharon Moore, including all the recruits who signed. So that's our superlatives. Check us out at thewolverine.com, promo code BLUE60 for 2 months of our premium content for free. We'll see everybody next time.